Oh, hey. This is a follow-on to our review of Sonic 4 Episode 1, which you should definitely go watch. If you've already seen it or you don't care, I'm going to start narrating at you now, so let's get to it. Rhetorical question time. Hey, Sega. So your return to form nostalgic marketing trip for Sonic didn't exactly pan out, but you promised more than one of these things in the literal title of the game, so what are you going to do? Well, we know what they did. They did this. Less the next step for a clear creative vision and more a reactive pivot, Sonic 4 Episode 2 attempts to right the ship and deliver something closer to player expectations without feeling too drastically different from Episode 1. A difficult and ultimately crippling set of constraints. To that end, the game takes several steps forward in key areas, but nearly as many steps back thanks to Episode 1's baggage and a lot of little issues. Mechanics deepen with the introduction of tails and tag actions, dedicated moves with lengthy intro animations that both characters perform in tandem. Highlights include curling up into whatever this is and blasting through at top speed for as long as the level design lets you, which often illustrates how hold right to win some stages can be. Most important, though, is flight, where Sonic can summon Tails at any time in the air and fly around very briefly. This is great for discovering new pathways or secrets, but it's most useful as a sort of panic button to save yourself from a pit or an enemy. It's a good trade-off, allowing for more aggressive and risky play in exchange for slower recovery from missteps, not unlike the tiered level design philosophy of the original games. These moves are mandatory to progress in certain stages, but the game quite literally signposts where they're required, so this removes any need for creative thinking. With that in mind, overall design does improve, but only just. Many of the issues that made Episode 1's levels feel bland and unengaging reappear here with only mild tweaks. Homing attack chains are still everywhere, for example, but now they utilize stage elements and not just enemies, with many a pillar or box to help remove that age-old frustration of landing on platforms in a platformer without help. He said sarcastically. Automation is back and, in some cases, more intrusive, with entire stages seemingly playing themselves for a lot of their runtime. Physics are improved, and while certainly smoother, are still not quite as natural feeling as some might like, with residual flaws all the more magnified in the clumsy and cumbersome co-op mode. Bosses are inconsistent, ranging from lengthy, tedious slogs to reasonably engaging, with the final boss coming in particularly strong relative to the rest. It makes good use of the tag mechanics, and in a textbook case of damning with faint praise, it's probably the highlight of the game. If anything really benefits from this second go-around, it's the presentation. Visuals improve dramatically, with detailed 3D backgrounds and nice lighting effects making many stages quite pretty. And level themes are at least slightly more original. We're only pulling from Aquatic Ruin, Oil Ocean, and Sky Chase / Wing Fortress this time. The soundtrack employs more varied and diverse instrumentation, which works well with only one or two very glaring exceptions. A 7 or 8 second loop for multi-minute boss battles is simply unacceptable, and some stage themes are less pleasant than others. Despite, again, only offering 4 zones, Episode 2 gives owners of both games bonus content in the form of Episode Metal, a small side story that details Metal Sonic's journey between Sonic CD and Episode 2 by serving as a sort of hard mode for one act from each zone of Episode 1. It's a token of appreciation for players who bought both games, but it's forgettable in practice. Metal Sonic is a reskin with no new abilities, and it's the kind of hard mode you put in quotes, rearranging enemies and placeable objects in a level editor. Cute, sure, but not much of a value add. It was clear by this point that Sonic 4's level design philosophies and creative choices had a ceiling, and a fairly low one at that. Episode 2 somehow had more and less of an identity than the nostalgia factory that was Episode 1, and that murkiness helped stop this saga in its tracks. Underwhelming sales and middling reviews meant a planned Episode 3 was promptly scrapped, and Sega eagerly left the Sonic 4 era behind, which, all things considered, was probably for the best. So when you put it all together, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2 gets 3 Gloobies out of 5. Improved presentation and mechanics cannot fully make up for its continued lack of content and ambition. It's decently enjoyable in its own right, and it's better than Episode 1, but sometimes, better just isn't good enough. Sonic 4 Episode 2 was also released on a bevy of different platforms, including PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, iOS, Android, Windows, the Nvidia Shield, and oh man, the Ouya. What a world. We reviewed it on Xbox One via backward compatibility. Thanks so much for watching. Stay fresh, cheese bags. We'll catch you back here real soon.